Hey, this is Brian Jones from Valhalla Academy in Frankfort, Kentucky, and I'm here with Craig Caudill of Bluegrass Budokai in Winchester, Kentucky, and we're actually at Bluegrass Budokai. So Craig teaches judo, aikido, and a lot of other traditional martial arts here, and I'll let him talk a little bit about his school. But the reason I'm going to interview him today is he is really focused on traditional martial arts in a time when there is a big focus on mixed martial arts and fighting and all these Krav Maga and these new styles that have come out. So, so Craig, tell me the difference in your estimation between traditional martial arts and modern martial arts in practicality and the reason people would do them and the reason that you choose traditional martial arts over some of the more modern ones.
Oh, good question. So the first thought that comes to mind is that traditional martial arts that I study I can speak to, and the other ones I really can't. So the first thought that comes to mind is I understand aikido and judo, so I'll speak to those. Mostly any of the Japanese martial arts that end with do means away, and basically what the founders of those arts intended them to be were not just mat time. They intended them to be something where you took the practice that you were involved in and try to apply the principles off the mat, whether that's work, home, play, wherever it is, but off the mat. So there was an intended and very focused attempt by Jigoro Kano, Morihei Ueshiba, the founders of these arts, to, I guess the way we would say it is have character education as part of their training. And so that is one of the things, I guess, that really attracted me to studying in a traditional mindset. Not that I don't do defensive tactics and combatives, I do that too, but for me personally, I think, well, there's one way to win a war, and that is, well, there's two ways to win a war. You either win the war or you keep the war from happening to begin with. And so if you have a mindset or you try to change the world around you so that people aren't wanting to war, then the war hasn't happened to begin with. And so that's why I like traditional martial arts, that character education aspect of it, where we're teaching adults and youth how to have a better mindset so we don't have to fight.
So you see it as there's an ethical or moral or spiritual aspect that's sort of missing in some of these modern martial arts.
Well, yeah, to me, all things in life are either physical, mental, about your spirit, and I separate personally your spirit and your soul. Okay, soul is what most people refer to as from a religious perspective. Spirit is, you can build your spirit in martial arts, and spirit is no different than having that, you know, that I don't stop kind of attitude, or I feel somebody looking at me across from the intersection, or I feel like somebody's getting ready to call me, and then they call. Those are all spirit type things that I think are separated. And I think that's what gets lost in translation and gets bastardized here in this country, is that people see this word spirit in Japanese, Chinese, and different things, and then they end up utilizing it to get a financial means out of it. And I don't think the founders intended that. I think they just intended it for people to work hard and get past their self-imposed physical limits. And so there is a lot of people that will come in here and work out, or at Valhalla and work out, and you can see it click where people are going physical, and then they want to give up, and then they just don't. I think that's spiritual. Not spiritual from a soul, not a religious perspective, just pulling it out of your gut. There's something else that kicks in, whatever it is that pushes you.
Mindset and mental toughness,
yeah,
and all these things.
Mental toughness. The brain is not a muscle. And so what is mental toughness? What is mental strength? It's not that your brain gets stronger physically, because it's not a muscle. However, something happens internally, and I think that's what the founders of these arts, particularly judo and aikido, intended by saying spirit. Because the word spirit is part of the word aikido. Ki is, in essence, internal strength, and again, that gets bastardized and made out to be something that, in my opinion, it's not meant to be. It just means internal power, internal strength, gut feeling, gut strength, mind power, not mind power like, ooh, you know, not that kind of mind power. However, just pushing through when you don't want to push through.
Right.
You do it anyway.
Excellent, excellent. Now, the popularity of MMA and the UFC, you've heard of those?
I have. I think
I'm
MMA
just
is
messing.
those little candies that are coming.
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
cups.
they're like nerds,
Yeah.
kind of.
Yeah.
No, mixed martial arts and the Ultimate Fighting Championship and all these other Bellator and other shows coming out, hugely popular. Okay, so we've got a lot of fighters out there. We've got a lot of people that come in. And I've trained at multiple gyms. I don't have a mixed martial arts school. Okay, I focus on Brazilian jiu-jitsu, judo, and defensive tactics. But I have worked out at a lot of gyms that train in mixed martial arts. I mean, you get the people
And you
that come.
competed too, right?
Yeah, exactly. I've competed amateur, and I noticed a big difference between the people that came through the door to learn the martial arts and the people that came through the door and said, "I want to fight." Okay.
Yeah.
So can you speak to like the difference between a fighter and a martial artist?
I think if we could cook off all the extra stuff, I think it would actually boil down to ego. In that it seems like, and I haven't spent a lot of time in mixed martial arts gyms. Obviously, because I run a martial arts studio, we have MMA guys that come in here and want to do their stuff with us, and we've had a lot of those guys come in and do, particularly combatives, defensive tactics, and stuff of that nature. And it seems like, and again, I'm not speaking for someone that's been in that part of the world a lot. It seems like they want to impose their will on somebody and win a lot. And in my particular style of training, there's a time to do that. I mean, I conceal carry and I shoot a gun and I know how to do that fairly well. I do defensive tactics, combatives. If you hurt me or my family, I'm going to do what I can to defend them. In a hurry, make that stop quickly. But it's never been, my mindset's never been one where I wanted to necessarily impose my will. So I guess I've said this a lot. We talk about this in the leadership group here. We got a lot of good instructors here. There's a certain aspect of my upbringing as a Christian that really plays out in a lot of stuff that I do that's very different than most Christians, and that is I wholeheartedly believe in people having free will and being able to make their own decisions. And so I do my best not to play mind games with people and say, you should be doing this or you should be doing that. I do everything to present what it is that I do, and if you like it, I like you being here. And it seems like, from an MMA perspective, they want to impose or they want to win. There's a whole lot of mindset of winning and beating and all that stuff. I'm not saying that they don't have good sportsmanship when they lose. It's just, it seems like
Sometimes.
It seems like that most of the time that the whole goal is to win. Whereas the founders of judo and aikido in particular never intended to be that way. They intended every day to be a practice of what it is that you do. And applying those principles off the mat. And for me, personally, that blends pretty well with the way I was brought up, the way I've developed I would hope to think I'm somewhat mature now. My maturity level as far as a martial artist, as a fighter, defender, whatever you might want to call it.
Well, I've noticed, and this is a great point, I've noticed that the martial arts, the mixed martial arts, it's not a style. Okay, mixed martial arts is not a style. It's a rule set, a sport. And there's a lot of different ways to play it, but it is a sport. And I think that one of those things that comes to mind is the resistance that Caudill had to judo as a sport, an international sport. As it became more of a sport, it sort of lost, when it became more competitive, it sort of lost those other aspects. People started to like them.
A lot of people focus on the fact that Caudill lobbied very hard to get judo into the Olympics. And if I could be so bold to say this, and I base what I'm getting ready to say on his writing, I think he regretted doing that. His writing after it happened, and I mean, he died before he saw that actually happen, but in great detail, obviously. But there was a sport focus on it that took it away from the character education, and it's incredibly clear by his writing as he's developing the art that he intended it to be character education. He was seeking it as a sport to get it broadcast to the world because he really thought it was a way, literally a way, and that it would change the world, just like the founder of Aikido thought that what he did would change the world. That's what they intended. And so his latest writings, there was some lamentation there, seeing that it was going more towards the sport and farther away from character education. In my personal opinion, where judo is today, he would be very upset by where it is today. I don't think he intended it to be what it is today at all.
Well, do you think that I know that sports can be a means of character education. I know they are taught the way coaches will teach values to their team, whether it's an individual sport like wrestling or judo, or it's a team sport like baseball, basketball, or football. A lot of coaches have a big emphasis on character education.
Yeah.
Do you think that this shift is in due part or largely because of the individual coaches that teach it that way?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there are some fantastic judo coaches out there that are pushing their students, their members, to become Olympic judoka, and they still instill the character education aspect of the training. It would just be my observation with the ones that I have personally had contact with that most of them are getting away from that. However, it's no different than anything else in the world. There's good coaches and bad coaches. There's good teachers and bad teachers, and so it's really dependent. Each martial art in and of itself is dependent upon the dojo atmosphere, what's fostered by the guy who leads it, as well as those who teach it and those that he asked to teach it. For example, I know you have a fantastic cadre of instructors that teach both for you, with you, alongside you. We try to do the same thing here, and so there is an atmosphere here that we try to have that, in my opinion, is just a little bit different than most sport judoka. And I'm not saying we're better or worse. I'm just saying that's what we do, and that works for us. And there's a lot of people that dislike us. There's a lot of people in the judo community, the sport judo community, that have problems with us. Some of that is because they think we're wayward, and we are. There's no doubt about it that we're wayward. You know, we have gone a different path, and you know, quite frankly, some of that is because we whip some of their guys, and they don't like that. And some of that is because they just dislike us because we're wayward. Either way, you know, I'm okay with it.
There you go. You heard it. Well, thank you, Craig.
Yeah,
I really
pleasure.
appreciate it. I appreciate you having me here at Bluegrass Budokai in Winchester, Kentucky. Check it out. Contact information will be up. Again, this is Brian Jones from Valhalla Academy, and we'll see you next time.